Hi, this is Shayna from Guderian Wines. Last time you saw me, I was hanging out with my friends just after Harvest 2023, and we were talking about the 2023 vintage. 2023 vintage was probably one of the most special vintages I've ever experienced. It was one of those years where we got rains when we needed rains, and then we got nice, warm growing season, but we never got really, really hot. And so we got this extended hang time in our vineyard. So we continued to have our fruit ripen to just the absolute perfect point. Now we're gonna share with you where we're at with our 2023s. We have some barrel samples of Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon, and we have a wine in bottle, our 2023 Rosé of Pinot Noir. Our 2023 vintage rosé actually just was put into the bottle, and we make our rosé using two different rosé methods. So we do a whole cluster press Pinot Noir from the vineyard that we're sitting in right now. And then when we come back through and we pick the rest of the Pinot Vineyard for red, we pull an additional Saunier so that we can get more of that juicy pink color. We had big yields, so we were able to have lots of different blending components and different vessels that we were fermenting in. So we got some nice layered complexity from this rosé. I am getting so much more of the orange, tangerine, nectarine, citrus component than I have previously. And then there's like a lot of tree fruit notes too. There's like quince and tangerine and nectarine, and it's just jumping out of the glass. I mean, I'm super thrilled with it. This is our Orchard Avenue Merlot that grows in the Oak Knoll AVA. This is a barrel sample right here. Obviously, the wine is still aging. It's slumbering in its barrel. So with 2023, because we had that nice long ripening period, it was a gentle atmosphere for the Merlot to grow in. It was really delicate. So the grapes themselves were kind of babied. So we have all of this just amazing dark fruit character in here. There's so much like crushed violet and just absolutely beautiful anise, dark blackberry. It's not 100% decided when we will release this wine yet, because I want to see where it's going to go. We'll continue to age this wine until at least next summer, but it will be at some point released at the end of 2025 or the beginning of 2026. So traveling up the valley to our two Cabernet Sauvignon vineyards. In 2023, we got two totally different Cabernets from the same vintage. The way that these grapes were harvested in 2023, first pick was Henry Rianche for the Cabernet, and this is in Pope Valley. So even though we had cooler days down here on the valley floor, we actually had warmer temperatures in this vineyard. So it was still on the vine longer than previous vintages, but we were able to harvest it in early October, and it is, yeah, it's jumping. It's so good. This one is our more fruit-forward, very classic Napa Valley style Cabernet, whereas the St. Helena Cabernet is gonna have, it's probably, I'm hoping it's not locked up today, but it might be. It's so young and so full of like dark, rich, black character. Oh my gosh. Oh good, we're starting to get just like a little hint of vanilla and a little hint of nutmeg on this, which is so fun from this vineyard. 2023 is the vintage of a lifetime. In the Napa Valley, where we have so many wonderful vintages, 2023 is special beyond those because it was all of the perfect things that happen here in the valley bundled into one. And 2023, it's gonna rock your socks when you taste it.
Hi, I'm Matthew Crafton, winemaker at Chateau Montelena. We are in front of the beautiful castle built in 1882, and today we're going to talk about the 2023 Napa Valley wine vintage. 2023 was absolutely remarkable. It's really the weather that occurs closest to harvest that sets the character of the vintage. And so I think the way I'm looking at it now is I'm treating these wines as if it were, a cool moderate to cool vintage. Cool vintages in general tend to mean longevity, slow development. It means extra hang time, means better flavor development. It means elegance. And I think that's one of the most exciting things about tasting today is that this might be the first time these wines are really beginning to reveal their true character. First wine we're going to taste today is our Chardonnay. So this is our 2023 Chardonnay from Oak Knoll District, so right north of the city of Napa. In the nose, this wine is just absolutely off the chart with freshness, and that's what we get in these cool, very pure vintages. And so from a winemaking standpoint, the goal and the challenge is how do we maintain this freshness, but also building complexity into the wine without overshadowing these beautiful, delicate nuances we get in cool vintages. So this is like citrus, lime leaf, there's a little bit of lemon oil here. Then all that beautiful tropical fruit that we love in California comes out. Some vintages really start to exhibit and demonstrate their true character after, a year or two after release. But cool vintages like this, the ones with extended time with a lot of flavor development, they can take a little bit longer. And so our challenge here in winemaking is how do we make this wine delicious upon release, but at the same time, give those little hints that people can recognize saying, you know what, a little bit of time in glass, a little more time in the cellar is gonna really yield something not only surprising, but also something very gratifying. We're gonna head over to the Cabernet barrels next. This Cabernet comes from our state vineyard here in Calistoga, right behind the winery. So this is the Le Grand Vin of the property, and really the bedrock and the benchmark, we think, for the Napa Valley in general. Wow, that's all I have to say, wow. Just where this wine is right now is absolutely mind-boggling. This wine's only been in barrel for not even a year yet. It has another year to go, and then at least another year and a half in glass. And just the 2023 vintage is so effusive. The aromatics are so diverse. It's just amazing. When I think about really what makes Napa Valley Cabernet so amazing, it's not just the dark fruit, it's not just the dried fruit that I think people associate with it, but in certain vintages like 23, you get this incredible red fruit as well. And this is in addition to all of the secondary characteristics, the herbs and the spices and everything that I think always tend to show well in cool vintages. But I like to joke that red fruit can be an endangered species sometimes, but 2023 has it in spades. Yeah, this is just gorgeous. This is gonna make my life a lot easier down the line. Wow. So when can you get our 2023s? Really depends upon the wine. For our fans of Chardonnay, you can probably pick up a bottle of these fall, winter of 2025. The Cabernets are gonna taste a little bit longer, but we won't release them until they're ready. By any measure, 2023 is going to be exceptional. Take every opportunity to get any bottle you can from all of the best producers here in Napa Valley. You will not be disappointed.
My name is Chateau Montelena. I'm the winemaker at Roots Run Deep. I'm here at our beautiful tasting room in downtown Napa for educated guests, which is one of the main brands that we focus on. The 2023 vintage was an amazing vintage. It had a lot of people sort of on edge for a while because it was such a late harvest. Here in California, more specifically within the Napa Valley, we start to run into sort of cooler temperatures, rain, so that's always a threat when you have later vintages. But the weather leading up to it was actually perfect. There was no real pressure of picking in rain, picking in heat spikes. It was just a nice, cool, even growing season. And so for a winemaker, that was perfect. It was ideal. You want to be able to dictate your pick, not necessarily have Mother Nature dictate the pick for you. One of the reasons or the benefit of a longer hang time is that you really allow the grapes to ripen in sort of totality. The sugar levels are in balance with the acid and the pH, so that when you take that bite, the seed structure is there. You feel that just beautiful pop of the fruit in your mouth. So I've got 2 different vineyards that we source fruit from within the Napa Valley. One is our Crossroads Vineyard in Oakville, the other being our George III Vineyard in Rutherford. So the first one that I'll start with and we'll give a try is our George III Rutherford Cabernet. So on the nose, I'm really kind of getting that hallmark kind of Rutherford Cabernet. You hear a lot of people talk about the Rutherford dust, which is the component of the soil. It's got a nice sort of beautiful earthy component. It's got some beautiful fruit. You're kind of getting a little bit more of that sort of dark fruit that kind of integrates well. So on the nose, I'm really excited about it, that the oak level is really in check. It's got great structure. It's really kind of in a really nice spot right now. I'm very excited about kind of the potential for the George III. So the next wine that I wanted to try is our Crossroads Cabernet that comes from Money Road in Oakville. Again, right in the middle of the heart of the Napa Valley. So similar to the Rutherford, it has that sort of just beautiful earthy component. This has a little bit brighter fruit. It really kind of leaps off the nose. It's not as intense. Oakville tends to be a lot more silky, seductive of a growing region compared to the other regions in Napa. So I'm definitely picking that up. Not as big in tannin, but it's definitely got a lot more structure. The finish is really long lasting and definitely showing some signs of potential ageability. There's just a soulfulness to this particular vintage that I haven't seen in years past. I had that sort of aha moment when I was going through this particular Crossroads Vineyard in Oakville when I was sampling grapes and just said, okay, this is gonna be something special. It's just got all the elements as a winemaker that you're looking for. And I'm excited to kind of continue that and see, yeah, these are continuing to be on a level that I haven't seen in my sort of 16, 17 years of winemaking. And it's something that's really, really exciting.
Hi everyone, welcome to Duckhorn. My name is Renee Airy, and I'm the winemaker for Duckhorn Vineyards. So today we're gonna kind of take a deep dive into the 2023 wines. We met about a year ago, and we talked about the vintage and recapped all the excitement about the vintage and really what that looked like. And today we're gonna go into the cellar and we're gonna pull some of those samples out and taste them and see how they're evolving. 2023 was one of the latest vintages I've seen in over a decade. We got a ton of winter rainfall that really set the tone for the season and kind of carried into the spring. And so really what happened is it pushed the whole season back. We moved the season back and started much later than we normally do. But what you get from one of these really long extended seasons is you get a lot of hang time. You get this beautiful freshness and purity that comes through in the fruit. And then also just because of the cool vintage, it drives a lot of natural acidity that really lingers in the wines. So I picked 2 wines today that I thought were really explained the vintage well, but also kind of the bookends of the vintage. So our first red fruit into the winery is almost always from our Three Palms vineyard. And so I chose our Three Palms Merlot Block 5. It's one of my favorite blocks off the ranch there. And then I thought we'd also follow up with the last fruit that came in from the vintage, which is from up on our Howell Mountain vineyard called Stout. So I'm gonna open up the Three Palms Merlot first. Three Palms is 73 acres and it's located on the southern tip of the Calistoga AVA. And it really is one of the most unique properties in Napa. It's a warmer AVA and so it's different from Merlot. But really what makes it really unique and interesting is the soil profile out there. It's incredibly rocky. And so that kind of basically allows the roots to drive down really deep and looking for water. It forces some really good concentration in the wines and provides a lot of density and intensity. But it also kind of provides this underlying earthy minerality or like a rustic kind of Bordeaux-like edge to it. It gets 18 months of barrel aging, so we're about 12 months into the process right now. I'm finding that this wine is already showing some really kind of beautiful integration, a lot of freshness, which again, coming from that kind of cooler vintage, long hang time, really good balance from that, that extra bit of time on the vine, but really bright and pretty as well. The acid that comes through on this vintage just drives a lot of freshness. I love what that lends to the wine, and I think it allows for just a really beautiful, ageable wine. So the second wine that I pulled is kind of the other end of the spectrum, so bookends of the vintage. This is from our Stout Vineyard, which is located up on Howe Mountain. It's got that quintessential Howe Mountain kind of red dirt, that iron-rich tufa, and just drives a ton of complexity, a ton of intensity, lots of different layers of fruit, and I think showcases this vintage really well. Because it's Howe Mountain and it's located kind of above the fog line and tends to be some of our later fruit that comes in. And this year we had the luxury of having warmer temperatures at the end of October, which allowed us to kind of pick into the following week there. So, you know, normally the risk of a cooler vintage is that you're not gonna have that kind of tail end, and with 2023 you really did. And so I think this wine just showcases really beautifully. It's got that complexity, that intensity, but it's also got the brightness and the freshness and purity that you get from the 2023 vintage. You know, not every vintage starts to really kind of refine and evolve early in the cellar. Some of them take a little bit longer to get there. I'm finding that the 2023s are really showing well early on. They're approachable, they're fresh. With the cooler weather of 2023, you get that really beautiful, bright acidity that always lends to great ageable wines. You know, every vintage is different, and each vintage brings its own nuances to the wine, and it's always fun to see how they evolve in the cellar.